This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to Bass Talk Live on this, the first day of March, where we're going to talk about bass fishing on what is arguably the most exciting week of the fishing season. It is Bassmaster Classic week, and the anglers kind of have an off day today, some meetings, some prep time, and then, well, I don't really know what they do on Wednesday. I think they have a practice day on Wednesday, and then media day on Thursday, and then it's go time Friday morning for the fourth time in Bassmaster Classic history on Lake Hartwell. And from all indications, this thing is shaping up to be a good one. Stable weather in the Anderson, South Carolina area. Water temperature in the mid to upper 50s with a little bit of breeze. A lot of things could come into play. We've seen the Classic won a number of different ways on Lake Hartwell, and very interested to see how it will be won this year. Got a really good show today. Mentioned before that, there was kind of a back and forth. Does Mark want to do the Classic odds? He's been doing the Bassmaster Classic odds for 10 plus years. I always disagree with some of his odds, how he picks them, whether he's doing it as, quote, hooky the bookie, or whether he's doing the actual Classic odds and how it all works. I don't really understand it. He does. Here's my take on it. That's Jeffrey's deal. That's going to stay Jeffrey's deal. Jeffrey's basketball team won districts and is going to regionals to go to state, and they played like the number 3 team tonight that they beat earlier in the year, but then they beat them. He's in full basketball mode. Did not have time to do the odd show, and I'm not going to step in and try to take his place to do the odd show. But that being said, we have a hellacious show of Classic prop bets today. Like some really good Classic prop bets, probably about 35 of them. So in probably about 15, 20 minutes, I'm going to get Bassmaster Elite Series and Classic Veteran. He just kind of had a little bit of an off year, did not qualify for the Bassmaster Classic this year, but he has been there and done that, and that is Mark Menendez. He was wrapping up some meetings. He is actually driving to the Bassmaster Classic on Lake Hartwell. I'm sure if you want to see him in the expo over the next 3 days on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you will be able to do so. But he is going to join me to kind of go through the Classic prop bets. And then after we talk with Mark, because we can't have two people on the phone at the same time, if you would like to call in to the Sunline hotline, and if you think you have a Classic prop bet that should be added to the list of Classic prop bets that I have put together, and I've got some good ones in here. I've also got some basic ones. I mean, I got stuff like number of times Chris Zaldain says lunker log or Guggen on stage throughout the 2 or 3 days of the Classic that he fishes. I think it's a pretty good prop bet. But if you think you have a prop bet that you would like added to the list, you will be able to call into the Sunline hotline and do just that. And now he just disappeared. But I actually have a Classic competitor who has been waiting backstage, who is going to check in, and we'll see. I don't even know if he's still there. I think he's gone now. Miller, you there? No. Miller's gone. He was waiting backstage. I had him all queued up, and then he disappeared. I'm gonna kick him out of the studio. I'm not going to kick him out. I'm going to have him rejoin us. He was all good to go, but I did, if you remember last week, I had all 3 of the Bass Nation qualifiers. Log out, then log back in the BTL studio. And I had one of them all queued up in the Bassmaster Classic, and he had his room key with the boat on it, and he was all pumped up and was going to talk about his Bassmaster Classic practice and everything that was going on. Oh, he's back. Let's see if he's back now. I got you, Jared?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're on BTL. What's up, man? Can you hear me? And now Jared can't hear me. I really hope that your classic practice has gone better than the attempt to interview this, Jared. And he's got no audio. All right. Well, that's not a good omen. That's not a good start to Jared Miller's classic. But he's fishing in his first classic from Norman, Oklahoma, and maybe we'll get Jared on in the second half of the show. Dang it! He was going to talk about what was going on too, and he was going to give us the juice. Here's what we're going to do then. We're going to take a quick break on the first. We're going to get Mark Menendez on the line. We're going to talk a little bit about the dozen-plus classics that he's fished, what these guys like Jared Miller are expecting, hopefully going a little bit smoother than his ability to log into the StreamYard. We're going to go over some classic prop bets. And then we will try to get Jared Miller back on the line. It's BTL on a Tuesday of Bassmaster Classic Week.
The Ultimate Fishing System by Lowrance. Your choice of powerful fish-finding tools, all connected. From sonar and trolling motor to navigation and networking. To fit the way you fish. All with touchscreen control from HDS Live, the heart of your system. Find more, see more, catch more with the Ultimate Fishing System by Lowrance. Upgrade to the Ultimate Fishing System and get up to $1,000 cash back.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday at BTL. We are going to reset that segment. Now I see Jared Miller waiting in the queue, and I know he can't hear me. But we'll try to get to him at the end of the show if he's still around. I don't know what their meetings, our schedules are like. But I do believe that we have, I want to say 12 time, maybe 13 time. I don't know. We'll have to ask him. Classic qualifier Mark Menendez on the Sunline Hotline. Mark, are you there? Mark.
I'm here.
Oh my gosh, it's working. Thank goodness. It is good to hear your voice. We're trying to get Jared Miller on. It's his first classic. And hopefully the rest of his classic goes a little bit better than his attempt to be on the first segment of BTL this morning, because he was on, then he was gone, then I couldn't hear him, then he couldn't hear me, and so we just moved on to the next segment.
Okay.
But it's all good. Do you remember your first classic? Was it kind of a blur?
It was absolutely amazing. It was in Birmingham in 1997. And I had attended my first classic ever in 1993 at Birmingham. So I kind of knew the layout. But, Matt, when they pulled me up to stage me to go in and they opened the curtains and you could see the Jumbotron and your name and your face, Mark Menendez from Paducah, Kentucky, I tell you what, my Adam's apple tightened up and I could hardly breathe. It was one of the most exciting things in my fishing career, was making it through there to take the lap around in your boat. The fans get to see you, and you realize, wow, I've accomplished the goal that I always wanted to accomplish. So I know what Jared's feeling. It's probably a whirlwind on him. There's a lot to do. It's not like a regular tournament where you've got 3 days of practice and you go straight to work for 3 days of tournament. There's a lot of in-between time there. So there's a lot of time to think about it, a lot of time to react to it.
I mean, I know you're not going to correct me on this, but I think I gave you twice as much credit. You've been in 6 classics.
Well,
I think I said a dozen.
It, but,
I think I tried to give you credit for a dozen. It seems like you're in the Classic every year, but still, I mean, that's 6 more than 99.99% of people ever pick up a rod and reel.
Well, true. And when I started fishing, there were goals to accomplish, and the first one really wasn't to make a Classic, it was just to be known as a credible angler. And the second was to get to a Bassmasters Classic, and accomplishing those two things has always been just something I'm very proud of. Every time you get to go to a Classic, it's really special. It puts you into a club, and there's probably only been 12 or 1,300 guys ever make a Bassmasters Classic in all these years. And that would be a neat statistic to find out how many there actually are. But you're in that group for life. You're always a Classic qualifier at that time, and it's something to be proud of.
That first Classic is actually the best Classic of your career. You had a 12th place finish in that. Do you feel like you had things together? I mean, you talk about going into it, but as far as the actual fishing standpoint of it and being able to focus on the water, was that a struggle, or was that easy for you?
Well, once you got your first bite, Matt, you kind of calmed down. You knew you were going to get to go across the stage with a fish in hand. And Ray Scott was going to give you a hard time about how small that 12-inch spotted bass was, the whole 9 yards. But, in that Classic, the second day of the tournament, I made a run at it. I caught a good bag. I caught a 14-pound bag the second day, and I left them bite. So I had high hopes coming in there for the third day, and fished the third day in that same area, an offshore area. In the 50 miles an hour, 30 miles up the river, and I had one fish. I weighed in a limit that final day. In the 30 minutes of fishing time that I had running back down the lake, I picked up 4 more keepers to have my top 12 finish. So I was really thought I had a chance to win. I was on a great bunch of fish, had a great pattern, and left them biting the second day. I wish I'd just caught more of them the second day if I'd known the water wasn't going to run.
Wow, you've competed in Classics almost for over the span of a quarter of a century. 97 was your first one. Your last one was on Guttersville in 2020. How has it changed? Yeah. How has it changed from 97 to 2020? I mean, as far as the prep week, the week, I mean, you've been under different ownership, different tournament directors, all sorts. Is the Classic week kind of stay the same? Are there traditions that have persevered throughout the decades?
Well, those early Classics that we had, Matt, we had really formal dinners. We had a tuxedo and a cocktail dress night where all the ladies got dolled up and the men were in wearing raccoon sunburns and tuxes for the Night of Champions and things like that. And those were a lot of fun to go do. It was just a different feel to the event. Now we do those, but they're far more relaxed. You've got a lot more to do now than you did in those first Classics. The media is a big part of each Classic. I'm working for Yamaha this week doing pre-Classic media, so I just left a television station. I'm going to get my boat to go do another hit for a television station here in a few minutes. So media has picked up much stronger than what it was. And back in the 90s, the Classic was just starting to get its wheels rolling as the premier fishing event in freshwater, or all fishing tournaments for that matter. So you've seen that part of it grow. The sports shows have gotten bigger. They're gigantic. There's everything that you want to see at a sports show. So those are the major growth there. But when it comes down to the fishing, when they call boat number 27, Mark Menendez, you're free to go, it all gets quiet. And I'm back in that Skeeter boat, Yamaha outboard purring up the lake, and my mind is clicking on how I'm going to get the job done in the event. So the fishing part of it is the easiest part.
All right. Well, I'm leaving it up to you on when you have to go to the next media hit, because I want to pick your brain a little bit more about the Classic and then get into some of the Classic prop bets that I had. So just kind of give me a 2 or 3 minute warning that we could wrap it up and get you onto the next media event. But I do believe in that first couple of Classics that you fished, I mean, back then in 97 in the early 2000s, you were still fishing out of was it a classic supplied boat? Like I remember the first one that I went to in 98, I got to see like the classic boat yard, and it was 50 like identical boats with identical everything that was lined up.
Right.
I mean, you were basically had to pack like a co-angler. Didn't you have limitations on how much tackle you could bring, how many rods you could have in the boat and that type of stuff? Even, I mean, fairly recently in this deal.
You know, my first classic, I could take 7 rods and 10 pounds of tackle. That's all I could take.
10 pounds of tackle is nothing.
It's not. I promise you it's not. And then, you know, 7 rods limits me to, you know, technique-specific rods. And so we did that for a while, and then I guess the last time that we utilized Bass-sponsored boats was the Classic in 2006 at Toho.
Okay.
And after that, the anglers started using the anglers' boats for exposure purposes, for more exposure for the anglers.
Mm-hmm.
So it was different parameters when you only had X amount of baits. Yeah, you went back up there and you got that Texas rig when you hung it on that stump. You went back up there and got your spinnerbait when you threw it on the back side of the dock because you didn't have another one. So it made for some interesting moments in your fishing day.
I mean, was that something that you would spend weeks before that tournament putting together, for lack of a better term, your tackle box? I remember I did a deal with Shaw Grigsby at his house, and he actually had the tackle boxes from classics for specific years, and he's like, yeah, this is the tackle box that I put together for this classic. I mean, was that a big deal of strategically saying, because you couldn't add anything to it? Like, I mean, let's say there was a spoon bite and you didn't put any spoons in there, you were just out of luck, right?
Yeah, you were definitely spoonless. You weren't going to be spoon man. There's no doubt about it. You really you were so meticulous on everything. You had that weight limitation, and you tried to figure out what you could utilize different ways, you know, a specific bait that you could tear it in half and use it for a jig trailer or whatever you wanted to do. So you kept your weight down. And I spent being so specific on which spinnerbait and which, you know, whatever extra blades and, you know, extra hooks, and you couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. You had to take what you got, and that's all you got.
Is that just a deal that Ray thought would be cool? I mean, was there any reasoning behind that, or was that just a Ray Scott add to the intrigue of the classic rule?
That was a 1971 first Bassmasters Classic rule that lasted that long, and it did add a lot of intrigue to what was going on. That's for sure.
How did that stuff change? Was it like the anglers going, hey, I really think that if we're going to do this with the show, like, we should be able to have whatever we want in the boat?
Exactly. That's how it evolved. And we once we got to using our boats, we were able to go ahead and put the equipment that we wanted to, like a regular tournament. Mm-hmm. So that's how that worked.
Okay. Because I've always wondered, you know, there's just some things that are a little different about the Classic. You know, we had Jake Whitaker on, who was talking about, you know, the past classics that he's fished, and he's like talking about how difficult it is, how everything is outside of your routine. You're practicing 5-6 days before the tournament. It's a 3-day tournament. You can practice, you know, on the water stopping January 1st, but there's like a whole set of unique rules that go with the Classic. And I don't think I've ever kind of dived into why the Classic and why not any other tournament, but I guess it's because it's the Classic.
Well, it is, and I think it comes back to the production of the event and what all goes into this particular event. It's the pinnacle of all bass fishing tournaments. It's the one that everybody wants to be in. It's the one that everybody wants to win. So you add these outside elements, which, you know, with all the media events and all of the time that you have to spend and the interruptions, it draws more drama to the Classic, and it allows the angler a lot more exposure, which builds fan base, which passes on information, whatever it does. It builds a lot of intrigue in it. But when it's all said and done, the easiest part of the Classic is the fishing. Time management is absolutely, it's horrendous on it. You're pulled here, you're pulled there. So many distractions that you don't have in a normal tournament. So that's kind of the thing that really plays havoc with a lot of the anglers the first or second time that they come to the event.
Just kind of looking at Hartwell, and it's a lake that you've been to before and fished a lot. You have a lot of different elements that go into it, and then you look at the stable warming weather trends. And as from what I can see, Mark, this could be one of the most wide open, varying tactics, species, lake locations, classics that we've seen in the better part of a decade.
Well, you're exactly right, Matt. You called it perfectly. The lake is really healthy right now. There's a great population of largemouth, a great population of spotted bass. So now you're opening it up to tactics, and then you get warming trends that are going to last a week. We're not going to have a change in the weather. Today's the coldest day that we were going to have. It was 40 degrees here this morning. The rest of the week, the lows are in the middle 50s. The highs are in the upper to mid 70s. So you're going to have fish that are going to wake up from the winter and go, hey, it's time to go rub bellies. Fish are going to start moving shallow. Will they go spawn? I don't think so, but you're going to have a lot of fish movement. So the issue that you could have is somebody could get on a great herring bite out there in 35, 40, 50 feet of water with the giant spotted bass in this lake. And as this thing warms up, they disappear. That whole deep water thing could go away. So there's going to be a lot of strategy. There's going to be a lot of fish catching. I think limits are going to abound in this particular tournament, and it comes back to that 1 or 2 good bites a day. But I think we're going to see some stringers with 5 good bites in them. I think we're going to see some upper 20 kind of deals here, 23, 24, maybe 25-pound bags.
Oh, wow.
Shown just because of the stability. It's going to be a fish-catching deal.
How much credence do you put in experience when it comes to the Classic? I mean, you got Scott Martin, who's done everything there is to do under the sun, but he's in his first Bassmaster Classic. Do you think that he's going to be feeling it, even with the resume that a guy like Scott Martin has on takeoff on day one?
Well, if he doesn't, he doesn't have a heartbeat. I mean, I'm going to be that honest with you. I don't care who you are. You have fished in every other major championship. You've won that major championship. Yes, you do have experience in pressure-packed moments. But this one is the only one that counts. You can win every other tournament championship in the world, but if you're recognized as the Classic champ, you've got that forever. So it is the one. And I don't care who you are. As many as I've been to, as many as I've been around, I still get that little schoolgirl feeling when I crank that motor up in the morning to head on out, to start the tournament. It's what you live for as an angler.
How does pressure and nervousness and excitement affect your decision making on the water?
It'll spin you out real quick. But if you make that right decision, you can hone in on the area, the technique, the timing in such a quick manner. So pressure is a double-edged sword. Pressure, if you ever hear an angler say, well, I gotta do this, I have to do this, I've got to catch 20 pounds a day, that generally doesn't work out, Matt. You tournament fish, you have a slow first day, and you say, man, I got to catch 20 to go get a check. Well, if you show up the next day and go, well, I got a tall order, 20 would sure be nice, and you start your day with a 6-pounder, you get in the game real quick.
Yeah.
So that releases that pressure. If you geek yourself up and pressurize yourself, a lot of anglers, a lot of experienced anglers, including myself, I can pressure myself right out of the game real quick.
Mm-hmm. The classics you fish are some big fish classics, Toho, Louisiana Delta, Gunnersville, like that. You go back and look at your game plans for those classics. Do you do things in the Classic that wouldn't even cross your mind to do in a regular season tour event, say the 3rd or 4th tournament of the year? Is it just, I mean, throw game plans out the window, make game plans that are risky? Is it a totally different on the water tournament prep than any other event?
No, not for me, man.
Okay.
I will have those big fish scenarios in my mind. I'll have a few of those baits in the boat, on the what if of me catching a good bag the first day. And I've always been a gatherer, not necessarily a hunter when it comes to my style of fishing. And when I catch that good one and get started, the 2003 Classic, the first fish I caught was the biggest fish of the tournament. I led the tournament the first day, thinking that all I need to do is catch 10 and 10, and I win the event. Had I done that, I would have won the event, but I don't know what changed. I still wonder why I didn't catch much after that. but I led the event the first day with a big fish catching, and it totally put me at ease because I really thought 10 and 10 after the second, third days would be pretty easy to do. And but that big fish certainly helped me a bunch. I caught a 6-pounder on the Delta, and those are hard to find. And I was off and running. It was an amazing day. It was a day I'll never forget.
See, Bass doesn't have the breakdown of the day by day. So Ike's Classic, you led the first day of that classic?
Yes, significantly. Had a 2-pound lead going into it, and Ike's consistency what ultimately won him the tournament. But yeah, I had almost 17 pounds the first day and had the biggest fish of the event. So it sure was exciting. I had my old dog Barkley in the boat with me, and we got a lot of press and a lot of exposure with having him in the boat. And it was a lot of fun having your best fishing buddy there watch you catch a great big one.
What was that like after you weigh in and you're leading the classic then? I mean, I've talked to the guys who have led it before. I just stayed at the last Open with Charlie Hartley, and he was telling some crazy stories behind the scenes and stuff. Yeah. But what is that like to be leading the dang thing with just 2 days left?
Well, you're king for the day, and you go into the press conference, and you're getting bombarded with all these questions, and they're really trying to erode your presence such that they can figure out exactly how you're fishing. So I went ahead and told them exactly what I was fishing. I was flipping a tube. I was flipping a creature bait, telling them how I was doing it. And they thought I was lying, Matt, because I told the truth. It was really kind of funny, but it made for a long day. The press conference lasted, probably an hour and a half. And then you've got this writer and this sports writer that you've got relationships that you've worked with for years said, "Hey, Mark, give me another sound bite real quick." So I was really tired at the end of the day. And, time management's so important. When we pull up to get ready to go through the arena and weigh in, I'm out there doing my rods and reels so that I don't have other time. So I'm thinking the whole time, and I was really wiped out after that day. I remember how tired I was and ordered room service, and I don't think I ate but about 2 bites of my sandwich, and I was gone. I was asleep so quickly. But it's an overwhelming day, absolutely overwhelming. But being king of the hill for a day is pretty cool too, I promise you.
Dude, I've never understood that, Mark. Like, I mean, obviously I've made my career, especially early on, in the media. I was one of those guys that, in the room asking the questions at the Bassmaster Classic, and I've never understood the need to, lack of a better term, badger the guys after day 1 and 2 about what they're doing, because if they end up winning, then that's all already going to come to fruition, and you're going to get the whole story after it. Really. And especially even in the earlier days before there was the live and all that stuff, there was no, hey, you can't look at the website. Back in 2003, 2004, you look at the and even in the early, 2010, 11, 12, like getting that stuff, the only people that it benefits in that exact little day are, yes, I see the benefit for your sponsors. If you have a rod, a line, a sponsor that you can do that. But like, it's just your competitors getting a feel for what else is going on the water. Like, really, the only people who it's actually impacting their everyday lives are the 10 guys behind you trying to figure out how you kick their butt on the water that day. Like, wait 24 hours and get the job after. My life isn't going to change. None of the readers' lives are going to change if they know you were flipping a blue fleck tube instead of a black neon tube. Like, that's important for like 7 people in the world on a Friday night after day 1 of the Classic, in my opinion.
Well, you're exactly right, but you know how competitive press is. I mean, you get that edge, you get it out there first, and it's just like fishing. But it was really funny when I just laid it all out there. It was a real unique tournament. The fish were grouped in small areas, and you could fish for miles and not get a bite doing whatever technique you wanted. But when you got in one of those 25 or 30-yard stretches, it became real important. So it was kind of funny. I'm just like, come on, guys, man, my eyes are bleeding. I'm tired. I just drove a boat 150 miles one way, basically, and 150 back. It was 95 degrees, and I felt like I was baked in an oven the whole damn day. It was just amazing how hot it was, and that was the thing. And that's the one thing about the Classic, Matt, is sleep. If you don't get sleep, your batteries really run down as an angler, and the sleep deprivation is very easy, because if you stay up a little extra one night, you can't get that extra hour of rest that you need. So anymore, now that I don't have to go to the boatyard and do my tackle and stuff, I can get my tackle on my own. It's a little easier. I can go work on my tackle, and I can go straight to bed. You know, Melissa, my wife, she's going to keep everybody away from me, and then I'm going to get to bed, get done, get my rest, and then I'm ready for tomorrow. But sleep deprivation in the early days was one of the biggest deals, because there were a lot of events, and a lot of cocktail parties to go to, a lot of dancing, a lot of good times. Some of the guys took advantage of that too, so they didn't fish as well the next day because of all the fun they'd had the night before. But it's not quite like that now.
All right, you got time to run through some of these classic prop bets that I came up with? We'll hit you with like 10 or 11 of them, and then let you get back on the road.
Absolutely, this will be fun. I can't wait to see what you're going on here.
All right, so this is something that I've done for the past 8 or 9 years. Jeffries usually does the classic odds, which sufficiently anger several wives in the field or best friends in the field at every, and then.
Oh, so we're going to make people mad?
No. This is more of a these are prop bets. This is I'm a gambler. I'm not going to say it. So like, you know, with the Super Bowl Cubs, it's like the length of the national anthem type stuff. You know, taking the long shot odds. How many, one-handed touchdowns will there be, stuff like that. But so the prop bets is that's my jam. That's what I've come up with. But I've always had someone to bounce the ideas off of, to where I've kind of got it to where I think I'm in the ballpark. But I've got probably 30 of them here. And we'll go through some, but I want to get your take on it. The listeners will get their take on it. And then here's what I did. I talked to Mark Jeffries. I'm going to turn this into a PDF per a listener's request, and then you can print this out and follow along during the Classic to see. This is purely for entertainment only, but just to see how close we were on some of these prop bets. All in good-natured fun. So I don't know if you know this, but Mike Iaconelli is going to be fishing the Kayak Classic. He had a really good event earlier in it. He is one of the 92 anglers fishing tomorrow and the next day, I believe, on Lake Russell in the Kayak Classic. So, Mike Iaconelli, over under, top 10 finish in the Kayak Classic.
Oh, that's going to happen. So I guess that would be an over, I guess. That'll happen. Yeah, he'll top 10 that. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do that like okay, so dang it, I forgot I ran into this. It needs to be higher or lower instead of over or under, because I ran into this problem last year and I confused a bunch of people. So higher or lower than... Okay. Oh, okay. He's going to finish in the top 10 is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
That will happen.
We touched on this a little bit earlier as far as how wide open this fishing is going to be. Jake Whitaker pointed out yesterday on BTL, hey, spotted bass spawn a little cooler water than largemouth do, and we've got full pool and we've got water in the upper 50s. You mentioned you didn't know if you'd see it, but number of largemouth in the tournament winning bag, over or under 10?
Oh, it's going to be over. This is going to be largemouth dominated.
Ooh, okay. So you're not seeing the 4 to 4.5 pound spots playing?
Well, I think they will.
But not 5 of them.
You know, but not 5 of them.
Okay.
You know, I would be very surprised to see a spotted bag in the 18 to 20 pound range without a 5 or 6 pound largemouth in there. I just don't see that. It doesn't work that way. The way I fish this lake doesn't work that way. I think it's going to be an absolute largemouth dominated tournament. Awesome.
All right. Like I said, you touched on this before. This could get very interesting. Number of bedfish caught on Bass Live. And I put the over-under on here on 1. Will we see a guy who's going down, maybe skipping some docks, and goes, holy cow, that sucker's on a bed?
Yeah, just because the number of spotted bass that are in this lake, and the moon is not for 2 weeks, but a spotted bass, when it gets warm, he'll come on up there and he'll get it. Now, it may just be a single buck that's up there that's guarding a place. So I'll say that somebody's going to go down through there and go, huh, look at there. There's one. Look at that little guy on a bed. Yeah, that'll happen.
All right. Now, I did a fantasy fishing breakdown over on Andrew Upshaw's channel, and I think we all picked weights like 48 to 51 pounds, but kind of did some more research, talked to some people, and I think I'm going to put the over-under weight for this event at 56 pounds. We're talking the Bassmaster Classic. We're talking 17, 18 pounds a day. You already mentioned some 20, 25-pound bags, but you've got spectator boats. You've got the pressure of the Classic. You've got the 3 days that you have to extrapolate this things out. Over, under 56 pounds to win this year.
I'm going to say over. In 19, I think for 4 days, I think I weighed better than 17 a day for 4 days, and I finished 6th in the event.
Okay.
And we were here a little bit later. So I think it will take more than 56 pounds. Not a lot, but more than 56.
Okay. Now we'll get into some real serious ones. Number of anglers weighing in on day one without any type of hat or head covering. You know how fishermen love their hats, and some of the predominantly hatless individuals are no longer fishing in the Classic. But I feel like it's really an over under 1 because we know Chad Pipkins will come in with nicely styled hair.
Correct. Yeah. Well, throwing that in there, I didn't even think about Chad. So, yeah, over or under 1.
It's 2, but I'm just assuming that Pipkins, unless something goes down and it's a chaotic day and he has to throw a lid on, I'm thinking it's a 50-50. I don't know. I feel like Scott Martin would like to weigh in without a hat, but I also feel like he's not going to turn down that marketing opportunity. That's some premium space right there above the forehead on Scott Martin. So I don't think that he would take advantage of that.
He probably wouldn't, but I'm worried about Cliff Perch. You know, if Cliff blows off his visor, he'll come in with this flowing locks of hair of his. So he's kind of in the mix there.
Okay.
Of not maybe wearing one. So, but he's got to, he's got to blow that off there. So I'm going to go under one. I think everybody will abide by their contracts and they'll have their hat that they need on there.
Really? That's in a lot of contracts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Like, hey, you have to wear this hat on stage. I mean, regardless of across company. I mean, I'm not asking you to go through your contracts. I'm just saying that's a thing that's in a lot of contracts. When you're on the stage, this is, you wear this hat.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Some guys, certain days they wear a hat on one company hat on one day, and certain days they wear hats on certain.
Oh, that would explain why when I used to, and I think I knew this, but that would explain why when I used to be behind the scenes for every single Elite Series weigh-in, a couple times a year there'd be a dude who's about to go up on the tank in a panic, and some dude behind him would be like, here, and hands him that hat, and he's like, thank you, and just throws it on his head before he goes up. That's probably a same team member guy who's saving this guy who left it in the room or blew out.
Yeah, that's where the flat brim came from, Matt. Guys that forgot their hats.
All right. Over under big bass of the tournament, 7 pounds. It's big Lake Hartwell bass, Mark, 7-pounder.
Yeah. This lake grows a lot of 4.5 to 5 pound fish, and there's a lot of 6-pounders, and I've seen some giants in this lake, watermelons in this lake, but I'll say it's going to be under 7 pounds.
Okay. Number of anglers in the top 10 who finish in the top 10 with at least one bass in their creel caught on a glide bait, over under 2. Dude, it's spring. It's late 50s. I think those big largemouth are going to be up there. I mean, there's some guys in the field who aren't afraid to throw the big wood.
Right. And this lake really plays well for that style of fishing, with the water clarity and the depth up close to the bank. I'm going to say over. Okay. I'm going to say over.
I would agree with you on there, because I'm looking down like Walters isn't afraid to throw it. We've seen what Lee Livesey's done. Brandon Polinick, that's
going to throw it.
Cliff Perch, I think it might be a sneaky arsenal in Brandon Cobb's repertoire for it. So who knows? That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it'll be over.
Yeah, we got it. We got to get this one. We'll hit you with 2 more, and then we will let you be on your way if you're good.
Yes, sir.
The number of times Chris Zaldane says lunker log or Guggen on stage during the Classic weigh-in, whether it be 2 or 3 days. I have the over under, and this is so I mean, if he says Guggen and lunker log, that counts as 2. I have the over under set at 7.
I think it'll be over 7. I think it'll be over 7.
I'm with you on that one. I'm 100% with you on that one. I think
new contract, new contract. Got to puff it on out there.
Do you like when you're going into the classic stage for the weigh-in? Like, I mean, I know you just got done fishing, but there's a lot of time to think and get in line and stuff. Are you like, do you have like notes? Are you going through, okay, I got to make sure I hit A, B, C, and D and can't leave this out, and I know this group's in the stands, or is it just go into pro mode?
Well, I try to go into pro mode. I think about, what I was successful with today, and I really don't want to sound like a used car salesman, because in the past I've seen classic anglers literally look down at their shirt to remember who sponsors them. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to do that either, but I don't want to sound like a used car salesman. I don't want it to be, over the top and it just be, mention. But if I'm throwing a Strike King 1.5, it's pretty obvious that I'm throwing a Strike King 1.5 on a composite lose rod. I can tell the fishing story without it being too commercialized. And I really work hard on trying to tell the story, including the name of the company, without it being over the top. And I think it rings true pretty good when you're telling that story and you're not trying to just push those names out there. And I think the public appreciates that when it comes out in a very natural form, instead of, I got to thank my sponsors, and you read the list of them. And I hope I didn't forget anybody. We come on, let's move along on that.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that on the Lowrance, AFCO, and Strike King sponsored show called Bass Talk Live. Let's hit number 10, and then we'll let you go. We'll take a quick. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to get to the last one. Then we're going to hit Jared Miller back for 5 minutes, talk about what's going on at the Classic, and then we'll let Jared go on his way as he's got a busy day, and then we'll come back with the second half of the prop bets, and then I'll take some calls to see if people have any prop bets they want to add. But the last one is length of the day one weigh-in from start to finish. This is always a doozy, Mark. Over under 3 hours and 25 minutes.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah, I know. I almost went with 4.
I was going to say 4 days, but
4 days.
It's over, and I got to throw props out to Dave Mercer. Dave's an amazing host. He knows every statistic about every angler. He serves up a topic like a giant beach ball to you to swing at, to come out on stage. He's so good at what he does. And he loves what he does. And sometimes we go a little bit long. But everybody needs to get their minutes in there, their 3 minutes on stage or whatever it is for everybody. And it is a lengthy process. But Dave is so good at what he does. But the first day can be a very long day, just getting all the moving parts moving. There's a lot of moving parts in a weigh-in, Matt, that have to work together in synchronicity to get it done. So if one of those ever slows down, it takes a long time.
That's some good stuff. That's really good perspective. I appreciate you carving some time out to talk a little bit about the behind the scenes, what goes on at the Classic, kind of give a little bit of a breakdown. Like you said, you will be at the Bassmaster Classic Expo all 3 days. Fortunately, because that means you have a job and you're valuable to your sponsors and you're taking care of business. Unfortunately, because I'm sure you'd rather be out on the water competing, but making the best out of that situation. Like you said, run through one more time where listeners of BTL can find you throughout the week.
Well, I will be spending a lot of time at the Yamaha Skeeter booths. That'll be my primary station. You'll find me at a new sponsor, Revital Outdoors, a CBD oil company that has helped me tremendously reduce the amount of inflammation in these old elbows. As you know, Matt, I wear braces every day, and this CBD oil has helped me a bunch. I'll be at Revital Outdoors, Seagar, TH Marine, and the Lowrance booth and the AFCO booth for sure. So just take a look at my profile in Bassmaster and look at my shirt, and I'll be at one of those booths. But if you really want to try to find me, look for me at the Yamaha and Skeeter booths.
Mark, thank you very much. Drive safe.
I will, Matt. I love you. Call me anytime. We'll have some fun.
Will do. See ya. All right, that was Mark Menendez. 6 classics. I tried to give him credit for 12 classics earlier. And like I said, that's probably one of the few times that you will not get corrected on statistics. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and hopefully we have audio with the one and only Jared Miller, former Elite Series pro, one of my good buddies here from Norman, Oklahoma, competing in his first Bassmaster Classic. And we'll see what his thoughts are about practice and the Classic experience when we come back to BTL on Tuesday of Classic Week.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us.
Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
So, you're looking to buy fishing electronics, huh? Are you also looking for true experts to help guide you through it? Well, at the Bass Tank, you've come to the right place. We are live forward-facing sonar pioneers with thousands of hours spent learning through winning trophies, cashing checks, and just having fun. Whatever brand you need, we have it. We offer free shipping, and we have 2 financing options available. Our experts are here to help you. Call us today or visit thebasstank.com.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Welcome back to BTL on a Tuesday. It is March 1st, and we are 24, Wednesday, 3rd. I think we're less than 72 hours away from Bassmaster Classic competition on Lake Hartwell, and we are going to go to one of the 50 or so anglers.
55.
55.
55.
Well, that was pretty much right on. One of the 55 anglers who will be going through that line, meandering through all the big boats and Dave Mercer and the music and the fans right there at Green Pond Landing, heading out as the sun rises with dreams. And one of those 55 guys at the end of Sunday will raise the Bassmaster Classic trophy.
That one right there.
Well, that's a picture of one.
Just like
it's not the actual one. We are joined now by Jared Miller, one of the Bass Nation representatives in the Bassmaster Classic. Did a really cool show with you and Taylor Smith, and I still want to keep calling him Taylor Swift because that's what he's in your phone as. You and Taylor Smith and Matty Wong last week. If you have a chance to go back, if you haven't watched that show, all 3 of the Bass Nation qualifiers from Louisiana that are competing in the Classic. And Jared, you are one of them. How is your Classic Week experience going to this point?
Taylor and I split a house on the lake and it was pretty calm and nice for the week practice, the 3 days of practice, and you get to the hotel and it's just chaos. People everywhere. Just should have stayed at the lake.
So you moved into the host hotel yesterday or today?
I got here yesterday.
You don't strike me as a hotel type of guy.
I know. I'm kind of kicking myself for not staying at the lake this week, but I get to take it all in. 2 seconds before I came on, Hackney walked by and shook my hand. I'm sitting down in the lobby of the hotel.
Did you look him directly in the eye?
Yeah.
Without blinking?
I tried not to blink, but I couldn't.
What'd you say? Were you like, you're fishing for second, Greg?
He tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and it's Hackney standing there, and he goes, "Congrats, man," shakes my hand. I was like, wow.
Some of these guys still recognize. A lot of them recognize you because you were on the Elite Series for 2.5 years. So it's not like you're kind of old hat at this. You just haven't fished a Classic.
Yeah, exactly. Haven't been to this big one.
You were on the water Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm not going to go into, hey, what are they, what's going on the water? But I just want to get your vibe on, did it feel like Bassmaster Classic practice? Did it just feel like 3 days on Lake Hartwell? What was kind of the vibe of the Classic practice?
This place is huge. And I'm used to elite practice with 100 boats and open practice with 250 boats. I saw 5 boats all week, and I went from one end of the lake to the other. There's only 55 of us, but it's kind of crazy how big this place is, and there's only 55 of us out on this huge place.
You having fun? You stressed out? What's your vibe? I've never seen you stressed out in my life.
No, I'm zero stressed. Not stressed at all. Yeah, I'm having fun. It's cool. It's cool. I'm excited. I hope the fish will bite. I haven't caught them that good in practice, but with this warming weather we're having, I'm a shallow, dingy water guy, so I think they're coming to me. But I've definitely caught some fish out deep and seen them on live scope. It's crazy to spot spotted bass on live scope. Like, you can watch them swim out of a 70-foot tree and chase a ball of bait around and then swim back down to the tree and watch everything happen on live scope. It's pretty impressive, but that's just not my jam, and I'm going to stay in the dingy water and grind it out, win or lose.
Pretty impressive setup. I see if you're listening on iTunes, he's kind of down in I assume the host. Is that the Hyatt lobby? That you're in there with giant 30-foot pictures of the Classic trophy and the logos and all that behind you. Have you've been to Bassmaster Classics before and worked the booth, correct?
Yeah, too many.
Is there a does it hit differently when you're one of the guys that's in it as opposed to one of the guys that's just hoping that your booth has the padded carpet?
Yeah, exactly. The padded carpet was the key in the booths at the Classic. I don't know if people know that, but man, you can't last 3 days standing on concrete. But I'm happy I'm standing on the front deck of a boat this week and not in the expo, so that's exciting.
All right, well, what's your schedule like the rest of the day?
We got a meeting here in an hour. Seth Fighter's standing behind me right now, and Hank Cherry. Everybody's here.
Hank's like, we got to go through this again.
Yeah. I got to hold up another trophy at the end of the week. Yeah. He knows they're heavy.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to it. I just wanted to check in. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, you got a couple minutes, and then I'm glad we got everything stretched out. So thanks. You got a lot of people rooting for you back in Oklahoma, and I'll give you a plug. I mean, you're up over 100. You're rolling with the Instagram profile. I see your post. You learned how to repost things. You're putting little emojis on it sometimes. I think you had like a clappy hands on the Yamamoto team and stuff. So what is it, J.M. Miller?
I think so.
You don't even know it.
No.
Hold on. Let me pull it up.
I'm a newbie.
JM Fishing 11. It wasn't even right. JM Fishing 11 on Instagram. Follow Jared. He's been posted all sorts of stuff from behind the scenes. So thanks, Jared. Good luck. Matt. Enjoy the process. And I will, hopefully I'll see you at the press conference on Thursday.
I hope.
Or Friday.
Right,
not Thursday. Friday's media day. You'll see everybody on Thursday. Friday, if you're at the press conference, that means good things happen.
Oh, after the weigh-in, yes.
Yeah, that means good things happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Means large fish were caught.
Hopefully.
What's your entrance song?
It is, I don't know what it's called. It's from a buddy sings it in Oklahoma. It's a fishing song. Randy Haven sings it.
Oh, you're coming into Randy's song?
Yeah.
That I want to go fishing.
I told him I sent him the link and told him to put whatever he wants in there. So,
dude, you made his year.
I know. He's pumped. He keeps texting me. He's excited.
He's been telling me he's getting YouTube royalties off of that thing for like the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And like every time they play it on a radio and stuff, he says he still gets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good for you. All right, Jared. Take care. Enjoy it.
Hey, Matt. Bye, guys.
All right. That was Bassmaster Classic qualifier, Jared Miller. And obviously with him being in the field, I did not want him to know or go over any of the Bassmaster Classic prop bets. But like I said, I got a bunch of these things, and I want to get back to the Bassmaster Classic prop bets, and then I will also keep an eye on the instant feedback to see what you guys think of my Bassmaster Classic prop bets. So we will go on. We just blew the length of the day one weigh-in, start to finish, over under 3 hours and 25 minutes out of the water. Both Mark Menendez and I agree that it'll be much longer than that, especially after they do all of the promo stuff. Here's an interesting one, because the three previous Classic winners, Jordan Lee, Casey Ashley, Alton Jones, while they will be fishing for spotted bass, it will not be on Lake Hartwell. It will be on the BPT that is taking place simultaneously on Smith Lake. So, they do a little promo stuff. They always talk about what went on in the past. So I will say the number of times previous Lake Hartwell Classic winners are mentioned during the weigh-in throughout the Classic, over under 1. Do they mention any of those? I'd be interested to see. Next one, here's one that we've talked. Miller said he's a shallow water guy, but he's seen a lot of fish out deep. Historically, the early tournaments on Hartwell are typically one out deep, unless there's a warming trend like there is now. So the average depth of winning fish, over under 10 feet. This could be a mixed bag to where it could be a little bit hard to tell, but over under 10 feet. So basically I'm saying, is it going to be a shallow Classic, or is it going to be a deep Classic? This next one, near and dear to my heart. Number of bass in the winning creel weighed in on a spinning rod. And I put the over-under at 5. Is it going to be a power fishing deal, or is it going to be a skipping a wacky worm or a Cinco or a drop shot or something offshore? So over under number of bass in the winning creel weighed in on a spinning rod over the 3 days. Number of bass caught on a topwater on Bass Live, over under 2. I believe there was a Classic on Hartwell a couple years ago where Jacob Wheeler was catching them in really cold water on a buzzbait. And I think he caught a couple on a buzzbait. I do remember there was a Classic back in the day. I think Gerald Swindle bet Dean Rojas that he couldn't catch one during that Classic on a frog, and Rojas caught one on a frog in like 40-some degree water. Now, that was not at Lake Hartwell, but over-under bass caught on a topwater on Bass Live, over-under 2. Number of 20-pound bags over the course of the event, I have over-under set at 5. 20-pound bag in the Classic is hard to do, and the chances are if you have a 20-pound bag on the first day, you've got a lot of attention on the second day. So I'm going to put the number of 20-plus pound bags over the course of the event over under 5. I always do this one. I feel like it's kind of a heartless one, but number of anglers who shed a tear on stage on the final day, over under, I'm setting that at 2. 2 guys who shed a tear. Sometimes we've had the winners that are like pumped. Sometimes we've seen some guys break down. It's a long road to get to the Classic. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And we're going to see if more than 2 of those people get the tears part on it. All right, we're going to go there. Number of previous BPT anglers in the Super 6. Super 6, top 6, going into day 3. Guys who have a chance to win, including the tournament winner. We've got Swindle, Porosnik, Polinick, Hackney. There's some guys that Christie that are expected to compete for this Bassmaster Classic that have moved back over from the BPT. So it's only, I think, 5 guys. But, man, they're some of the favorites for the event. I'm struggling with this. I think it's real easy to say over under 1. I'm setting it at 2 in the Super 6. Over under number of former BPT anglers that are in the Super 6 of the Bassmaster Classic. For the BTL prop bets, I'm going with 2. I talked a little bit about this with Mark Menendez earlier today. The sponsor plugs that are prevalent during the Classic, understandably so, though. Number of anglers on day 2, which is cut day, so over half of the field will be going home after day 2, that do not mention a single sponsor on stage during their time on stage, where they just come up, talk about the great crowd, talk about the fishing, chat with Dave a little bit. Do not mention a single sponsor that is on their jersey. I put the over-under at 2. Not very many. I think 2. Let's do the number of Bass Nation anglers inside the top 25 cut, which would be Taylor Smith in his second Bassmaster Classic, Jared Miller, who has previous experience on the Bassmaster Elite Series, and Matty Wong, who went 1 for 2 in Florida and is your Bass Nation reigning national champion and is competing on the Bassmaster Elite Series this year and likes spotted bass in clear water. Still, I'm only going 1. It seems like we always have one Bass Nation guy who makes a run at it, but as a whole, it's tough sledding for those anglers. I've got a couple more. I've got some kind of funny ones that we're going to go through. I will. Let's take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, I will wrap up the Bassmaster Classic prop bets, and I will throw the number up. If anybody has a Bassmaster Classic prop bet during the commercial, you can either throw it up on the instant feedback, or if you want to call in to the Sunline Hotline show when we come back, we will do that. But it is BTL on Bassmaster Classic week, wrapping up the prop bet show.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. 2 sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com. The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, This is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Welcome back to BTL on a Tuesday, wrapping up the final segment of the Bassmaster Classic Prop Bets Show. And I'm going to go ahead and throw the Sunline hotline number up. I've got about 10 more that I'm going to go through. I went a little bit overboard, a little bit more than I usually do, just for the simple reason that we did not have an odd show. And I wasn't going to try to do an odd show because it's kind of hard to beat Mark Jeffries when it comes to doing the odds. Through the Sunline hotline number up, if you think you have a classic prop bet that needs to be added, 405-253-5543. That is the Sunline hotline number, and I'm going to hit all the buttons, and I think we are good to go if you want to call into the Sunline hotline. I will get back to the last 10 or 11 that I have here. Like I said, the last one that we wrapped up was for a number of Bass Nation anglers inside the top 25 cut. I set the over-under on that one at 1. The next one is the number of anglers on the final day who mentioned some type of forward-facing sonar, whether it's from Lowrance or Garmin or Humminbird, any type of forward-facing sonar. So that would be over under 8 out of the 25 that are fishing on the final day, which is like a third. Yeah, that's pretty good math. That'd be like over a third of the guys mentioned that. A lot of anglers in this field also from the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, a lot of guys who are favorites in that, just going through, obviously, Patrick, off the top of the head, Patrick Walters, Brandon Cobb, Shane LaHue, Hank Cherry, going down the list, KJ Queen, Brian New, guys who are pretty close to that area, like Mark Frazier, Matt Airy. There's a bunch of guys that are from the Carolinas that are in this. So I have the number of anglers from the Carolinas. This includes both North and South Carolina. Number of anglers in the top 10 set at 2. Above or below. Yeah, Clay, I'm not a gambling expert here. I did gamble. The first time I ever put money on the sportsbook, I bet for Rob Gronkowski to win the Super Bowl MVP a couple years ago. I put like $20 on him to win like a lot. And he caught 2 touchdowns, and he should have caught a third. I'm still upset over that pass, but that's the extent of my actual sports betting. Okay, let's get back to the over-under on it. Number of cameras. You have to listen to this one pretty closely. Number of cameras on Scott Martin or Scott Martin's boat during his classic entrance on day 1. So we're talking chesties, head cameras, various mobile cameras that are positioned on the motor, the front of the boat, the console, possibly a cameraman in the boat. Just number of cameras that are capturing the action for Scott Martin and his YouTube channel on day 1 of his classic entrance. You have to remember, although Scott Martin has a sterling resume over on FLW, including a Cup and Anglers of the Years and most tour wins, this is his first classic, and he's called it, unfinished family business, and wants to win it for his dad, Roland, who's never won one. So I think he's going to document it to the hilt. So I got 6 over under on 6 6 cameras in it, and I see a bunch of the listeners that you guys are. No, I don't know how to, Jim. This is a good one, but I do not. I don't know how to turn this into an over/under. Maybe Clay can help on the way to do that. Cherry over/under on riprap. That's more like a yes or a no, but then you'd have to win on it. But I was trying to get some sort of Hank Cherry like 3-time winner, but I do like, it's kind of like, will Hank Cherry, I guess you could do I don't know. The majority of his fish came off riprap. I don't know. He's been a big fan of the riprap in the Classic. Robert saying yes, McCoy will be in his boat for the Classic weigh-in. That's a good one. Let's go back. How many times? Here's a good one too from John. How many times? We got to pick a day. On day 3, final day, will Mercer say giant bass? That's kind of his saying. John wants to set that over under at 4. That's a good one, Bobby. Is there some sort of classic? Will there be a fish caught in the Bassmaster Classic on a Carolina rig on Bass Live? We can go with that one for Bobby to get a little bit of Carolina rig action into it. As far as staying things on stage, Pete, let's set the over/under at 4 over the course of the entire Classic. How many times Hank Cherry will say "stunna" on the stage? I was referring to the new jerkbait there. All right, let's get back to the last 3. Number of times the hot seat changes during the Super 6 weigh-in, and this is kind of an indication of how close the event is. We've seen guys that sit in the Classic hot seat until the very end. We've seen it change hands in numerous times. So I have the over/under set at 3 for the number of times during the Super 6 that the hot seat changes hands. Here's one. Number of Bassmaster Opens qualifiers in the top 10. That would include Jacob Poroznik and a number of other anglers who won the Bassmaster Open tournament, fished all 3 and got in. I have that number set, the over/under set at number 1. This is probably my favorite one, and I've saved it. I've saved these last 2. I've saved these last 2 till last. Number of times. And if you have to listen to the Elite Series to understand this, so a number of times that Lee Livesey threatens a bush light on stage during the weigh-in. And it's kind of become his thing when he leaves the weigh-in stage to let everyone know it's a bad day to be a bush light. And that's kind of his thing now. So I think if he catches him, he's going to say it's a bad day to be a bush light. And I think if he doesn't catch him, he says it's going to be a bad day to be a bush light. So I'm setting the over-under at the number of times Lee Livesey threatens a can of Bush Light on stage at 2. And finally, the number of anglers weighing in with some form of mustache that is like not connected to a beard. We're talking like a Chris Zaldane, a Patrick Walters, I believe a KJ Queen. It seems to me like there is an epidemic, and I will call it that, of young anglers with poor facial hair. So that is all I have for the Bassmaster Classic prop bets. Let me go run through the instant feedback here. We did do the we did do the over under length of the day 1 weigh-in. We set that at 3 hours and 25 minutes. Over under swearing. Logan wants to have one over under for no words on FS1. We'll set the over under at 4. That's a dangerous over under because depending on the situation, you could go over that in about 10 seconds. Or you could realize it's the Bassmaster Classic and everyone is on their best behavior for it. But I think that's a good number, Logan. I think we'll add that one to it. Over under for letting some stuff slip on FS1 over under 4. I think it is the Classic, and I think I would have to over the course of the entire 3 days. They're going to be broadcasting. There's lots of live footage. There's a lot of Classic veterans. There's a number of guys though that could, if they're in the mix, it's going to hit that over probably within the first hour. I think I would have to take the over on that. All right, maybe we'll go through some of these tomorrow because tomorrow is day 4 on day 3 with Uncle Frank because I am headed to the Bassmaster Classic on Thursday. I will arrive there on Thursday. Tomorrow on BTL, I will have my schedule on where I will be during the Bassmaster Classic. It will be I will be in the AFCO booth, Spro Gamakatsu, Big Bite, Denali rods. I believe those are all kind of in the same general area. Also, we'll be spending a lot of time in the Bass Tank booth. You can come by if you are going to the Classic and have liked the John Sokup and Scott Palmer shows that we have had this year. Both of them will be at the Classic in the Bass Tank booth. Also, we had a lot of good feedback earlier this year with the Matt Looney and Pro Guide Battery Show. Pro Guide will be at the Bassmaster Classic. I'll also be there throughout the event. If you want to talk and meet with Matt Looney, the guys at Pro Guide, talk with them, get set up with the right thing. Pro Guide will be there. And I think I'm also doing a Bass U seminar. I think BTC, Brian the Carpenter, talked. No, I don't think he did. I'm scheduled on Sunday at 1 o'clock to do a Bass U seminar, kind of a truncated one, 20-25 minutes long, on the Dink and Dunk, the bridges, marina, riprap, and ramps. I'll go through the BMR squared pattern, the spoken hub, and the wacky worm drop shot and Ned rig. And how all that works together to catch a limit and finish just outside the check line in about every tournament you fish in. But, hey, you got to start with a limit, and then you can go up from there, and I'm decent at catching a limit. So excited to be doing the Bass U seminar there, and I'm sure if you follow their social medias, they'll have more out on that. But, yes, it is Bassmaster Classic week, and I am looking forward to getting to Greenville and seeing everything that's going on. Like I said, if you're there, hit me up, stop by, say hi. Tomorrow, Frank Scalish, he will break down preparing for a big tournament, which I think is kind of cool because whether it's a club tournament, a open, or a Bassmaster Classic, there's certain things that you do for a big tournament to help you be prepared so you can focus on the water. Frank's fished in 2 of the Classics. He is going to break down his tackle, his rods, his reels, preparation, getting ready for the biggest tournament that you can fish. So really excited to see what Frank has on the docket for that. Whew. We made it through the Tuesday show with duct tape and crazy glue, as Mark used to say. Big shout out to Mark Menendez for joining us via the phone. Big shout out to Jared Miller for joining us during his Bassmaster Classic week as he competes in the first Bassmaster Classic. And big shout out to you guys for hanging with it. Hey, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, head over to either Facts of Fishing or our YouTube or the podcast platform's new show out that I'm doing with Dave Mercer called The Cull. We talk about a hot topic in the world of bass fishing, and then we decide to either keep it or cull it. This is something that is going to drop every Monday from here on out. 10 to 12 minute show. The goal here is to generate some discussion. There's a lot of things that go on in the fishing world, and we are not going to be afraid to tackle it. The last one was, should every tournament at the professional level pay $10,000 for big bass? I said yes. I kept it. Mercer said no. He called it. We have some hotter topics that are definitely coming up in the upcoming weeks. But head over that. Let us know whether you want us to keep that show, call that show. We're not really getting anything out. I'm tired of not having anyone to argue with. And Mercer was like, well, maybe we could come up with something that we discuss hot topics together. And I was like, I'm in. And he said, well, where do we publish it? I said, let's just put it out on all of our stuff. So it's on Dave's Instagram, the Facts of Fishing YouTube channel, all of his podcast platforms, on the BTL YouTube channel and all of our podcast platforms. But that show is generated on feedback, on generating discussion in the world of fishing. It's got a little bit of kind of a mainstream sports vibe to it. So 10 minutes out of your life, I appreciate you guys who have checked it out. And if you haven't, check that out and let us know what you think, whether to keep or cull that. Also, I do believe around the AFCO booth area, there will be some BTL merchandise for sale at the Bassmaster Classic. I have no idea what they brought. I do know that the box weighed 26.5 pounds, so whatever type of clothing you can fit in, 26.5 pounds. That will be at the Bassmaster Classic. Follow my Instagram at Matt Pangrac for more information on that. Other than that, we will be back with BTL tomorrow. It's day 4 on day 3 to wrap up Classic Week in studio before I head to the Classic. Frank and I will talk with you guys tomorrow.